Welcome to Austin Stories. Buckle up because the HOA Karens and Kevins are attacking the fire department today. How do they get back at them? And then HOA wants a war, OP is going to give it to them. Now all my videos are in podcast form. Search for the Austin Stories podcast on your local provider or check out the description of this video for a link. Something a little different. One fire department's humble fight against an HOA. Posted by Zerbo. Just throwing out this story because I know you folks will get a kick out of it. While I am fortunate enough to not live in a neighborhood with an HOA, I'm a firefighter for a suburban district that is chock full of them. Big ones, small ones, old ones, brand new ones. HOAs freaking everywhere. For the most part, they aren't a hassle. They gate off their private roads, but as long as they put a sensor on it or a padlock that uses our standard department key, it's not an issue. Enter the Views. The Views are condos built in the late 70s, and as far as I can tell, the only view they have is of a freeway on-ramp and some eucalyptus trees. The Views were built along a narrow road that starts and ends off of the main road, making one big loop about a quarter-mile long with a couple cul-de-sacs branching off. It's important to note that the driveways for each end of the loop are about 30 feet apart off of the same road. The Views have a lot of older residents, so we're there semi-frequently for medical aids, people smoking out their kitchens when they forget about the food they left on the stove, and even the occasional structure fire. Responding there is annoying because they built speed bumps about every 25 feet along this loop. So once you're in the Views, you're not getting anywhere fast. Annoying, yeah, but it's a private road so they can technically build as many speed bumps as they want. Enter the chain. About a third of the way along the loop from the first driveway, there is a chain across the road, padlocked to a steel pole on one side. It's a generic master brand lock to which we do not have a key. Why is it there? What does it do? Why would anyone build something like that? The answer to all three of these questions is, who the heck knows? The chain has been in place as long as I've been working at this department, and nobody can tell me exactly why it's still a thing. Phone calls to the HOA regarding the chain went unanswered and unreturned. The problem with the chain is its location. If we're responding to an address that's closer to the first driveway but just past the chain, we would have to go the long way around to get there. The operative word here is would. When COVID was really ramping up in the early 2020, we were at the Views a lot, sometimes 2 or 3 times a shift. Approaching from the main road, we always take the first driveway because heck, taking that long way, someone called 911, we're going to get there quickly. That's what we're paid to do. So when the address came up on the other side of the chain, it was unanimously decided that we take the path of least resistance. Enter the bolt cutters. Every time we needed to get to an address past the chain, I would hop out of the engine, grab the bolt cutters, and snip a link. Chain goes down, engine and ambulance go through. Simple solution. After about a week of this, and many mysteriously replaced chains, the enigma of the chain was finally revealed. One night, as I have a hapless link firmly in the grasp of my bolt cutters, I hear a shrill shriek. Stop! A middle-aged woman comes speed-walking out of the condo right next to the chain. I'm the HOA president, that's there for a reason. I want to hear all about that reason, but we're here for a response, and the clock is ticking. Snap! Another link is broken, the chain falls slack, and onward we go. We resolve that we'll stop by her unit after we clear the call to let her know what a nuisance the chain is, and that something needs to be done about it. This course of action was ultimately unnecessary, as HOA President took it upon herself to huff and puff after us as we drove away, and came speed-walking up again as we pulled up to the response address. I went inside with the ambulance crew, but I could hear her shrieking at my captain outside. We wrap up the call, get the patient loaded into the ambulance, and she's still going off on him. What it basically boiled down to was that she took it upon herself to install the chain because she didn't want people using the road as a thoroughfare. The reasoning behind this is an utter mystery to a rational mind because it's a loop that begins and ends on the same road, 30 feet apart. No one is using the views as a thoroughfare. The chain got installed where it is because that's where her condo is. She demands that we just go the long way for addresses past the chain, and we explain that it hinders response time. She does not accept this. It takes my captain asking her that if her unit was on fire and we were responding from the other direction down the main road, would she want us to take an extra minute going the long way or just cut the chain and get to her unit faster? She acquiesces that she had not considered this, but also refuses to do anything about the chain. War it is then. Every opportunity we got, we cut that frickin' chain. Never maliciously, only out of necessity, but it was necessary to the point where it was getting comical. A pile of snapped chain links lay discarded in the gutter. She made numerous attempts at peace. What if we just notified her when we needed it unlocked? No. What if we just cut a link on one end instead of down the middle? Sorry, middle is faster. What if she just gave us a key to the lock? Sorry, but if it's not the department-issued lock, we're not going to take the time to dig through the key box. One day, as I hopped out to gleefully cut the chain as always, something was different. Zip ties. Tired of buying new chains, or perhaps the chain fund had dried up, HOA President had resorted to zip tying the chain back together where we had cut it. She even attached a tag saying, "Fire Department, cup zip tie only." After consulting with my captain, we decided upon the most prudent course of action. I didn't have a pair of scissors on me, but I sure as heck had a pair of bolt cutters. Snap! Dead center in one of the remaining links of chain. And so it went, as the chain got gradually shorter and shorter and became more zip tie than chain. Despite her rushing out of her condo when the engine pulled up to the chain, we were always faster with the bolt cutters. The chain has been fully replaced a couple of times, and the same cycle has ensued, until one day, last week, when everything changed. Enter the gate. As we responded to the views, we pulled up to the chain. I already had the bolt cutters out and ready to go, only to be greeted with the most unexpected surprise. Where the chain had once stretched across the road, impotent in the face of our departmental onslaught, now loomed a 2-arm swinging gate. A beefy one, too. They definitely assessed some new HOA fees to pay for this beast. On cue, out came HOA President. This time, she said nothing, only crossed her arms in defiance and looked on with a smirk. I assessed this new obstacle for a second. Too thick to ram it through, plus that would damage the engine. Tubular steel modeled on concrete anchored post, so no just lifting the gate off the hinge. "Looks like you'll be taking the long way from now on," she said, clearly having played this out in this exact scenario in her head countless times since having the gate installed. And she would be right, except the arms of the gate were secured by a length of chain wrapped around and padlocked. I looked straight at HOA President as I lined up the bolt cutters on a chain link and the padlock shackle. Snap. I have never, ever seen someone visibly deflate the way the HOA President did at that moment. I pushed the gate open and the engine drove through. As I climbed back into the engine, I heard her call out, "At least close it behind you." I probably don't need to tell you that I left that witch wide open. The icing on this cake is that we sent out fire marshals to check it out. While the chain technically met the definition for impeding emergency vehicle access, we let it slide due to it being so easily bypassed. The gate however, was a massive violation of county codes. Despite being a private road, the number of residents along the loop in the views stipulated that any gate shall be automatically opening and have an emergency vehicle sensor. The gate fits neither of those criteria, so boom, 30-day notice to remove that crap or face massive fines from the county for impeding emergency vehicle access. So, in summary, we waged a years-long battle against one HOA president's desperate grasp to control a problem that never existed in the first place. And if that doesn't capture HOAs in a nutshell, I don't know what does. This is so genius because this fits under malicious compliance, doing exactly what he's supposed to, pro-revenge, and then just Karens and everything. They cut the chain. The lady puts this up out of spite. That's literally out of spite is all it is. And then just continually maybe thinking that they're just going to make them stop after a while. But no, they have people to save, right? I mean, come on. So they put the gate up thinking, oh, that's going to be it, right? They put all this money into it, all this time and effort, and all using the one brain cell that the Karens have here to get this gate up. Somehow it's still working after all the raging they're doing, and then it's against all these violations. They clearly didn't think that through because they clearly think nothing through, and then OP just rams through it the proper way, and boom, just takes the HOA president down, and everything just falls apart in his favor. That is an awesome story. I really liked it. Let me know in the comments if you did too, because I did. HOA wants a war. Posted by Vlad666. I live in a rural area on a family farm. The farm next to ours was sold to a developer who built a bunch of mini mansions that have an HOA. Now, the mini mansions back up to my family farm. I get letters every week from the HOA complaining about the tractor sitting in the field at the front of my property, where it can be seen from the street. We're working that field and the tractor is necessary. I've had them complain about my barns, outbuildings, the sound of the large tractor when I'm seeding, and once have my grandfather saw some people that he didn't recognize checking out the barn. He went out with his double barrel 12 gauge to see what they were up to. Guess what? They were HOA inspectors who declared their right to inspect the building to make sure it met HOA rules. My grandfather is not politically correct, and I was pleased that he restrained himself from using 00 buckshot to register his opinion of trespassers. And yes, our property is fenced and posted. I was informed by the HOA that they were going to fine me $1,000 a day until the offending striations and machinery were removed. I informed them that I and my property are not part of the HOA, and if their inspectors set foot on my property again, I would have them arrested or let my grandfather loose with his double barrel. They went nuts and called the county sheriff's office. Having lived here for generations, I knew the sheriff. He came out and he asked me what was going on. I told him. He also visited the HOA and heard their demands that he take immediate action to protect their inspectors. They were less than happy when he informed them that since my property is posted and fenced, I was well within my rights to not allow them on my land. Also, because of our livestock, a 12 gauge is not unreasonable because of predators. He also informed them that, as I am not a member of the HOA, I have no requirement to allow them on my land, and if he gets another call, he will arrest the inspectors for criminal trespass. I have since been sent a letter from the HOA's lawyer telling me to just cease and desist all operations until they get a court date because they are suing me for damaging the value of their property. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who, after he got done laughing, was amazed. First, because a court has to issue a cease and desist order, and secondly, we've been here farming for 4 generations. I have spoken with the HOA board and told them to leave us alone, or we'll be more than happy to play our lawyer is better than their lawyer. I was informed that the developer of their property assured them I'd be selling my land for development to an organization like his that has since resolved into the ether. They were more than a little surprised when I told them that we're currently training the 5th generation to take over, and we have no intention of selling our farm, period. Seems the developer left them with the impression that I was selling my property to be developed like my neighbors had been, only to make his money and run. God have mercy on overzealous HOAs. I mean, just look at this. They are just trespassing on the land, first of all. On a fenced land, mind you, with posted signs making threats like, oh, we're going to take over, blah, 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 rule the world like the HOAs think they always do. And then they ran out and they just try to go back with no evidence, with no power. They are instituting this own power within their own minds and then executing on it, thinking that's going to matter in their imaginary world, because that's what a lot of Karens and Kevins do. They have this imaginary world that is not reality and they try to run it. The lawyer comes in, he completely sets them straight, like very much so. And OP has 4 and 5 generations here. They're not moving them. They're just going to have their tractor. They're going to let it run, John Deere, whatever brand it is, and they will rule over this overzealous HOA. Way to go, OP. HOA broke the law, so I ruined their entire board like this. Click the video on your screen. You don't want to miss this crazy fallout that happens. If you like this story, you're going to love that one, and I will see you in that next one.